Hello, everyone, and thanks for coming to the webinar. As Max said, we do have a $100 gift card online in the event that you answer your polling questions and post a question in the chat. We actually have quite a few people that have already posted questions, so great to hear from you. We'll try to make this as interactive as possible. As we talked about on the webinar invite, we're going to talk about how to test and confirm EPIC application availability. I'm going to start with a couple of slides for context, and then we're going to go right into an actual case study that we have that will give us some context. So when we talk about health IT and the challenges that face healthcare IT, the overwhelming issue in the healthcare marketplace, especially with health IT, is that if you look at a healthcare system, their IT department will generally have 50% of the budgets and headcounts of their enterprise counterparts. And their performance issues can impact patient care. And what that really means is that the criticality of performance issues is actually higher, and the ability, the financial ability and the human resources that are put behind trying to solve these issues is actually less for the same number of users. So that presents a heck of a problem, and we've all lived through that, those of us who have been in the healthcare marketplace for a while. So what Goliath Technologies did is we tried to create a technology and have with embedded intelligence and automation. The whole notion here, especially with this webinar today and the technology we're going to introduce you to, is to give everyone the ability to anticipate issues before they impact end users and therefore patient care. This technology is like adding a full-time employee to your environment. It will give you the ability to test EPIC availability 24/7, 365. If there is an issue, it will alert you in real time. It will also isolate the root cause of that issue so it can be resolved quickly, and so that you'll have objective evidence to share that information with your management, with other counterparts, so permanent fix actions can be put into place. Now, we also leverage, though we're not going to be talking about this on this call, we also have purpose-built modules for all the major EMR, EHR applications, most notably EPIC. So relative to EPIC, and this makes a difference for EPIC hospitals, we do have a partnership with EPIC. We're members of the Apertures program, and that's a technical partnership. What it does overall is give us access to EPIC System Pulse APIs, and if you can look to the middle of the screen, you'll see the Goliath Central Console. What we do is bring together into one view EPIC System Pulse data, end user experience, and the Citrix delivery, Citrix or VMware, we're seeing a lot more of VMware Horizon now, delivery infrastructure into a central console. The whole notion here is to give you the ability to troubleshoot it, monitor everything, alert you in advance of end users being impacted, but if they are impacted, give you the ability to troubleshoot these things, these issues quickly. And incidentally, we are now available in the EPIC App Orchard. So let's pivot now to why you came to the webinar today, and that's to talk about how, at a very, very low cost, we can help you test and confirm that EPIC Hyperspace is available. We'll talk about a case study as well as a product demonstration. We'll combine the two so you have a real-life use case to work from. So what we'll talk about today is specifically how we were able to help a top 5 nonprofit system. Now, I'm not going to read the whole slide, but the net of it is that we were able to set up our technology at over now 50 acute care hospitals around the United States. Our technology is testing and confirming application availability, EPIC, Meditech, as well as other clinical and business applications. As it pertains to EPIC, there was a refresh, a maintenance window that was executed against the night before. They found that a particular application was not enumerating. 40,000 users would have utilized that application. Now, what our technology did automatically, it had the intelligence to detect that the application was not enumerating, and then send an alert to the Citrix administrator and the director of IT, and they were able to resolve the issue before end users were impacted. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So how did we achieve that? I'm going to introduce to you now, if you look at the top of the screen, the Application Availability Monitor, which exercises the entire delivery infrastructure. Now I'm going to put together a semi-annoying build slide, but bear with me here. If you're moving from left to right, you see the little G-men. And what I'm doing here is showing you the path by which the Application Availability Monitor will log on as a normal user, exercise the entire Citrix or VMware Horizon delivery infrastructure, and interrogate that infrastructure to make sure that it's up and running available. Now, in this situation, there was an issue with Active Directory. If you had this deployed at remote locations or on location, and you were exercising this application 24/7, 365, you would receive a real-time alert if something in that environment was not working in concert. You could receive that to your iPhone or over email. And again, those are alerts in real time. Taking a step back, what it's actually testing for are network issues. I won't read through all of these. Desktop delivery infrastructure, making sure that's all working, making sure permissions are appropriately configured, making sure that all the applications and desktops will launch, and it will also measure application launch times to make sure that there is not slowness. Now, the way you would deploy this, and now I'm going to turn it over to Yemi, who's going to go through the demonstration. The way you would deploy this is at any number of remote locations, and then you would centrally configure this to log on at the appropriate times. Enterprises generally start logging on a few hours before people get to work. Health systems generally log on 24/7, 365, maybe more frequently during the high traffic hours. So in this particular situation, for example, this organization deployed at remote locations down in San Antonio and Savannah, and it 2 or 3 hours before the majority of people got to the health system, they were alerted in real time. In one situation, there was an inability to connect to Storefront. In the other, the inability to launch Microsoft Outlook. So I'm going to turn this over to Yemi to be able to do the demonstration.
Thank you very much. So in order to give you some sort of perspective of what's going on during one of these launches, we're actually going to take a look at the Application Availability Monitor launch an Epic session. So you can see here the Application Availability Monitor is able to open up a web browser to your NetScaler page or your storefront page, confirm that the storefront page enumerates, and then starts the application launch process. This is done for Epic Hyperspace in this particular use case. But this can also be used to test the delivery of other Citrix delivered applications. And this is fully customizable, so you can set this up based on the application and based on how this best fits your use case. And if there is an issue, you can then analyze that from within the technology at the application availability analysis page from within the technology. We can start off at the dashboard page, giving you that high-level overview of your applications, of your application launches. You can see the trends. You can see how everything in the environment is running. So based on launch times as well as overall availability. You can switch over to the analysis tab, and you can actually take a closer look into each one of these launches and the overall launches in your environment. So this page is really broken down into 2 sections. The top section gives you that high-level overview of all of your launches from all of your locations in one central console. The top section you can see here, the blue bars is the average or average launch time for each one of your launches, and then the yellow trend line gives you overall availability, right? So obviously we would want that to be at 100%, but this is in our lab environment, so we're actually simulating some failures to give you a perspective of how that looks and how you would be able to troubleshoot issues as they come up. At the top, you're able to filter based on date range, based on endpoint, which again would be the location at which each of these launches are taking place, based on the application, so whether that's Epic Hyperspace, like in this use case, but any other Citrix or VMware Horizon delivered applications. And then finally, at the bottom section, you're able to take a deeper dive into each one of these launches. Here you can see the date and time, the applications, so typically you would see your Epic Hyperspace here. You can see the endpoint or the locations at which each one of these launches are taking place, the session host, if the session actually was created, and then finally, availability, right? So was this launch a success or did it fail? And if it did fail, like in our use case, you can actually drill down in here and see screenshots, the same way everything represented in that video, with screenshot evidence here at each stage of that launch process. So you can see the authentication stage, the storefront enumeration stage, and application enumeration stage. In this particular example, very similar to the use case for this nonprofit Epic Hospital, the application was not enumerating on the storefront page, and the admin team got an alert showing them that there was an issue, showing them where the issue was, and with a buffer time to be able to fix the issues or remediate these issues before 40,000 users started their workday. This is all, as I mentioned, fully managed and centrally managed on one central console. Scheduling is all UI-based as well. So being able to see all of the launches from all of the different locations in one single pane, being able to schedule these on a basis that best fits your application really gives you the ability to fully test the infrastructure to make sure applications are available to your end users at all times. That's it for the demo. I'm going to turn it back to Kip for the rest of the presentation.
So let's go through the, in terms of the questions, we have a ton of questions. I guess the $100 gift card is working here. The first question is one that we're going to have to pull up here. So can I actually show logon times by location, historic? The answer is yes. I'm going to have Yemi pull up a couple of slides that we'll be able to get to in a question or two. Does the Logon simulator test both applications as well as desktops? The answer is yes. It'll test any application or desktop that's accessed by Citrix, VMware Horizon, or RDS. So, and real quickly, Yemi, do you want to show some of the slideware? So these, real quickly, the slides that you're seeing right now are, this is average logon duration by stage. This is trended over a period of time. The next, and this is all pulled right from our database. I believe this is in Power BI. But this is the average logon times by date. So someone is giving to upper management a weekly overview of the average logon times around their environment. Remember, everything that we have in our technology, all the metrics, where the failure points are, how many failures there were, the number of successes, all of this is in a database and readily available. Can I drill down is another question. Can I drill down and see the exact failure point? Yemi, can you go back into the product real quickly, go and show a failed logon while I'm answering some other questions, and see if you can't show just the drill down next to one of the failures?
Absolutely.
The text is really, I think, what we're looking for based on this question.
Absolutely. So within one of these launch drill downs, you're actually able to see specifics on what exactly went wrong. So in this particular failure here, we're actually able to see that the storefront page was not enumerating. So, this would affect end users. However, you're able to see screenshot evidence, so you don't have to call the user or figure out exactly what they saw. You have an alert alerting you to the fact that there is an issue, as well as screenshot evidence to be able to point you in the direction to where you can start that troubleshooting process. In this case, you would be taking a look at your storefront or your NetScaler page.
Okay, thanks. Can you identify the root cause of a logon duration issue with this technology? The answer to that is yes, you can. You simply go into the session display. It's further into the product, and you can show the logon duration for any particular session. Again, you can also run historical reports and things of that nature. What is the largest Epic customer you have is another question, which is great. I believe probably Catholic Health Initiatives is probably one of our largest. Confidentially, I can't say how many application availability monitors they have, but it's certainly not more than 100, but not less than 50. In terms of so Epic App Orchard. So there's a question about Epic App Orchard. So this is a formalized program from Epic where we, pay Epic, as you might imagine, and we're members of this program. It gives us access into their APIs to be able to pull performance-related information into our technology. And in fact, what does that look like is the follow-on question. So, Ian, can you pull up maybe a couple of the screenshots from, or even in the product, the Epic dashboard?
Absolutely.
Okay. A question came in about how far back we can go from a historical data perspective. It's really unlimited. You can go back as far as you want. Most folks go 60 days to 90 days back, but you can certainly go back as far as you want. It's just based on your storage requirements and the data that you want to have available. There was also a question about Epic Canary Monitoring. I'm really not too familiar with Epic Canary Monitoring, but it might be like the other sort of free logon simulators and things of that nature. Whoever asked that question should probably get a demo of our product and could write a comparison. So I'm not a pro at what Canary Monitoring is, but generally that we're different than pretty much any other technology out there. Is the enterprise scalability, the ability to take snapshots, and the fact that, remember, this product is a feature of an overall monitoring technology. So other logon simulators, if you want to call them that, can certainly log on and tell you if there's a failure, but generally they can't tell you if it's slow. They can't document where the failure is, and they certainly can't track it back to a part of the infrastructure that is outside of the company that built the simulator. So, for example, Citrix has a simulator, I guess Epic has a Canary, and they will log on and they can tell you if there's a problem with their particular application, but that doesn't really help in troubleshooting because many times the root cause is outside of that particular stack. So hopefully that answers the question. There are a couple of other technical questions here. This is not one of them. Have you been to the Epic campus? Yes, we have. It's actually pretty crazy. It's more like a theme park, but it's just a fantastic experience. And if you ever get a chance to go, and bug your manager for the ability to go. It's really worthwhile. Question here about disabling screenshots for security reasons. Yes, you can disable the screenshot aspect of the technology. And Yemi, let's just break real quickly. You have so this is the Epic System Pulse integration right now on the screen. So if you were to deploy our technology and pull in System Pulse data, this is what some of the screens would look like. Do you want to just explain this?
Absolutely. So right here, we're looking at our performance graph section from inside the technology. And these specific graphs are a piece of our Epic System Pulse integration and what we call our Epic module, pulling in information about the activity in your environment as well as the performance of your environment, pulling in information about latency and about workflow, and these are all tied in together with the infrastructure monitoring as well, so you can see information from the hypervisor, from the hardware, from the VMs, tying that down to the operating system in one single pane where you can quickly identify all 5 layers and get visibility into the entire delivery infrastructure as well as your Epic applications.
So another question, thanks Yemi. Another question came in about distinguishing between a NetScaler logon and a storefront logon. And the answer to that is we log onto those separately, and that we do dissect them or parse those out. So you'll be able to see both. I don't know if we have an example of this, but you'll be able to see both as it executes the logon process the way an end user would. So you'll be able to see, I don't know if you have that in the logon simulator there. If you can show it traversing through a NetScaler and then through the storefront. As Yemi's pulling this up, a question came in. We're moving to Epic. Can I use this for Meditech and Epic at the same time? Yes, of course. And frankly, people use our technology, both this particular feature that you're seeing today as well as the overall technology, to baseline old environments as they move to new environments as well, relative to end user experience. It also helps, frankly, with rollouts, whether you're transitioning from Citrix to VMware Horizon or to another version of Citrix, or from one EMR to another EMR. Using our technology generally reduces end user experience issues, and that can help facilitate a smooth implementation and adoption of the new technology. The worst thing that can happen is being a quarter of the way through a rollout and end user experience issues pop up that may be a result of something that's totally outside of your control. They usually are. And then there's nothing to do but roll that back and then try to go out again, which trying to reestablish a rollout is a significant challenge, as you all know.
Yeah, so going back to that question about distinguishing between a NetScaler login and a storefront login, it depends on what your application or what your environment entails, right? So in the case where you log in via NetScaler page, you can do that from the environment, from the application availability monitor. As well as if you have a typical kind of storefront login, you would be able to do that in the exact same fashion. So it really does depend on what your environment entails, but you would be able to do both with the application availability monitor.
Okay. A couple of questions. How easy is this to set up? It's actually very easy. In every one of these technologies, every POC comes with free support to be able to have it set up. So an application availability monitor probably take about 1 hour to set up. That includes installing it and training as you set it up. Of course, we'd send you the prerequisites ahead of time. Someone asked, is there an agent involved? There is an agent at one particular endpoint. So if you think back to the diagram, let's say you have a centralized data center, you would put one of the application availability monitors on premise at the location, the hospital location. on a VM or a laptop. If you look at this particular slide here, this will give us a little bit of context. So here, for example, you've got a hospital in San Antonio. You find a laptop, a virtual machine, and you deploy one agent at that location. You would configure that agent remotely to be able to log on to the data center as frequently as you want and exercise exactly the applications you want it to exercise, whether it's Epic or some other EMR, HR application, business or clinical application, literally anything delivered through Citrix, VMware Horizon View, or RDS. So if you go back to the last slide, someone asked a question, is this licensed on a per-user basis? We certainly can accommodate per-user pricing. The price is $3,500 per year. The simple way of doing that would be to take the users and divide that by $3,500, which would give you your per-user price. So that's how we would do it if you asked for a per-user price. But at $3,500 a year, it's a pretty inexpensive early warning system. So in terms of next steps, feel free to contact us for a proof of concept at techinfo@goliathtechnologies.com. If you're not sure if the technology can have any value at your location, or you'd like to see the full suite of our solution for Epic, as well as Citrix or VMware Horizon, also email us at techinfo@goliathtechnologies.com. Our philosophy here is there's usually a binary need for our product. You either have pain and you need our technology, or you don't have pain, and it can be an interesting conversation, but there's probably not a need for it. You all have tried to get things approved, I'm sure, in the IT organizations, and they don't get approved unless there's pain behind it, especially for monitoring and troubleshooting products. You can also register for a trial, and we would encourage you to visit and look at our full solution at the Epic App Orchard. That's epicaporchard.com. And you can certainly validate that Goliath Technologies is in the App Orchard, as well as get additional information on our technologies. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining, and we look forward to potentially interacting with you again in the future.